What chance does Arizona have to beat West Virginia? Is this a must-win? Just like the previous must-wins.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you today by FanDuel. All right, with FanDuel, all kinds of really good stuff. As you know, the best thing about FanDuel, though, is that you can place your $5 bet and get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, now, we are going to talk Arizona football. We are going to talk a lot of Arizona football and what we should expect in this game. Now, the first thing is Arizona should win this game. A couple different reasons. Now, you could say, Mike, Arizona should have won a lot of different games, and they haven't. Correct, you are right. But a big part of this is that West Virginia is traveling to Tucson. Could say that Arizona's a big home court advantage, maybe, or home field advantage. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But West Virginia isn't very good. Neither is Arizona, obviously. But at the same time, you can also make the case too that West Virginia is maybe even more banged up than it comes to with Arizona. They're likely going to be without their quarterback and a variety of other players. Now, Brent Brennan said in his presser that he is expecting the quarterback to play. We will see if that is the case because it is being reported that the quarterback is not even traveling with the team, which it is what it is at that point. But at this stage, I'm far more interested in what Arizona can do. Now, West Virginia has one of the worst passing defenses in the entire country. It is awful. If Arizona can't get off in this game, then I don't know that it is ever going to. The first thing that I think we need to talk about, too, with this is you got to get quick hitters. You got to get tempo. We've talked about this time and time again. Where is the tempo with this team? There's been next to none of it, and we saw some of that in camp. And we've seen, it has just not been good. We have seen some of this in camp, though, and you haven't seen really any of this on the field. The one thing that I don't understand, though, is why you are not moving faster. A big part of it is that when Arizona's down 2 touchdowns and you still are not doing a hurry up, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. With the big part of this, too, is that I think that it's also fair to say that, this team just has to get going. If you can't get going against West Virginia, then this team is you already are in a lot of trouble, but it really is. And that starts, obviously, with T-Mac. With T-Mac, you've got the best wide receiver in the entire country, and it's, in my opinion, it's not even close. You got to get him off. You got to get him moving. If you can get him moving, you can get him going, then I think you're probably in better shape, but you've got to get him going, and you got to get him going early and often. Then, also, that tight end position. Again, you'd love to see the tight end be utilized, and that just hasn't. But get going. Get some quick hitters. Get things that are in and out. Get plays like that that are able to basically, make things easier for Noah Fifita. Again, I have never thought that all of a sudden Noah Fifita just forgot how to play football, and that's why I put so much of this on the staff. I really do. I don't understand why. They just haven't made things easier for him, but it is what it is at this point. Also, run the ball. I think you got a pretty decent running game, obviously, in Quali Conley. Run the ball. One thing that I'd also like to see too is a little bit of Noah Fifita running the football as well. I think you saw against Colorado that he can be a decent running threat, to be able to move the chains a little bit. Maybe things get things going a little bit easier, and I think Arizona should try to utilize that. So who knows? Maybe Noah Fifita, but the passing attack, if you can't get going against West Virginia, you can't really. You probably are going to struggle basically at every single aspect, and then. With the offensive line, obviously you've got some real injuries at this point. Rhino is out for the season. That is a big blow. Not only is it out for the season, he is so now you're looking at Joey Capra. You're looking at, it looks like Deuce has been benched, but the offensive line has been atrocious. I don't know what else to say. Now listen, you've had players like Wendell Moy have just regressed. I don't know how else to put this. Wendell Moy has just regressed, and there hasn't really been any rhyme or reason for it. You can obviously talk about other players as well, but the offense has been a mess. We're going to get to the defense here in a second, but Vegas also obviously feels that this is a close game, but Vegas would not be surprised either way by what happens with Arizona in this. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised by what happens. Now, again, I'm going to pick Arizona to win this game. I think that Arizona should win this game, and if Arizona doesn't win this game, if Arizona can't win this game, then I think there's a lot bigger issues, which I think there already are at that stage. But I think that Arizona should be able to win this, especially, too, if you're without your quarterback. I mean, come on, at this stage, what are we doing? If you can't win this game without, West Virginia's quarterback, who's very, very good, by the way, then I think there's just a lot of problems that obviously need to be addressed. I think one thing also is that at what point do you worry about the team starting to quit on you? That's a fair question. I think one thing, though, that we need to talk about, though, a little bit is the role of the media in all of this. There are some people that are saying, "Oh, well, the media has turned the fans against Brent Brennan." No. That media has not turned the fans against Brent Brennan, not even close to the truth. Fans aren't stupid, and they also know what they're seeing out on the football field. And what they're seeing is a product. They're seeing a poorly coached team that is just not playing well. And not only that, they're seeing a staff that is saying the same things week in and week out. And I think that's it's just a bad product. People know what they're watching. So I think you're giving the media far too much credit if you think the media has been the one that turned this team. You watch it, again, this team was preseason ranked, and there's no rhyme or reason for half the stuff that is going out on the football field. And I don't know that Brent Brennan can be as upset as he wants, but it's not been good. It's been awful, and I don't know that there's really any other way to put that. This has been a very, very bad football season, and honestly, I don't know that I see it getting a ton better. But to sit here and blame the media, I think is absolutely ridiculous, because the media is going. Listen, you're in Tucson. This is tepid criticism compared to some of the other places that out there in the football stratosphere. This is very, very tepid criticism. So that's something that I would definitely keep in mind here. And again, if you can't really deal with some of this, then I don't know what to say. But it's not been impressive. Fans know what they're watching. They see a program. That game in and game out is doing the same thing. And you got a coach that is basically saying these guys don't know exactly what they're doing. When you talk about it and you say that you got players all running in the wrong direction, who am I to blame that on? Am I supposed to blame that? At some point I've got to blame that on you. No, I don't know who else to blame it on, because you're more than halfway through the season. I also don't know how halfway through the season or this entire offseason, it looks like, how did you get to this point where you didn't know what you wanted to be offensively? Because I don't think they have any idea what they want to be offensively, and I think that's a major problem. You inherited a loaded roster. How did you not know what you wanted to be offensively? And that to me is kind of malpractice as well. This is, Dino Babers was obviously bad, but this is essentially the same offense that we are watching game in and game out. It's not good. It's not impressive. And honestly, you don't get a sense that it's going to be better. Now, we're going to talk about the defense here in a second, dealing with all the injuries, because there's obviously a ton to talk about when it comes to the injuries on this team. FanDuel. Let's talk FanDuel for a second, something that we can all agree on. Here's the deal with FanDuel. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com to look at all the latest stuff. Here's the great deal with FanDuel. You know that you can watch something, you can watch before the game, you can watch during the game, and if you get a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a hunch, you can say, you know what, I am going to put my money down on FanDuel, and I'll try to win something there. That's the great thing about FanDuel. Plus, like I said, your money is good. Check it out. With FanDuel also, it's you can bet in-game, you can bet before, you can bet futures, but that is the place you want to be. You want to be at FanDuel.com. Again, another one of these ones where you will thank me later. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats, and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the defense. I love Dwayne Aquina. I think Dwayne Aquina has done a masterful job, all things considered. He lost a ton of talent. And when I mean a ton of talent from last year, and he's lost a ton of defensive backs as well. I mean, you look at the injuries that have been sustained to this team. You lost a player like Traden Stukes early on in the season. You lost to Gunnar Maldonado. Those are obviously two big losses. Then you lose a Jacob Manu this past week. After that, you've had a plethora of injuries, but he continues to put together a decent unit. And I think what's also intriguing about what Dwayne has done is that there's never any excuses with him. You watch his pressers. He doesn't make excuses. He says, you know what? I got to get this better. We got to be better. And overall, this defense has been good enough to win. And I think with that, you got to give credit. You got to give credit. This defense has been good enough to win. And all things considered, I don't know what else to say other than that it's been good enough. And I hope that he's here as long as possible. Listen, I would assume this offseason there's going to be some real changes to this team. I don't think there's any way around that. I think you've got to make those changes, and you've got to make a lot of different changes on the offense because it's all broken. The offense is totally broken. There's no other way to put it. It is awful, and it looks like a bunch of guys that have never coached before. From the offensive line to the wide receivers to the QB play, I don't really know how else to put this, other than the fact that you got to be a lot better than you've been. So there is obviously that. With when it comes to this team, though, the one thing that I also think is that Arizona right now, you are kind of at the stage where you know that. I'm not sure how much worse it can get from a defensive perspective. Now, West Virginia went into this season with some expectations as well, and not only did they go into this season with some expectations, you also knew that there was going to be a little bit of a how do I put this? West Virginia was kind of a dark horse pick by some people to be able to win the conference, and obviously that has not occurred as well. You would imagine that Neil Brown is going to be out at the end of the season, or Neil Brown out, obviously. But then after that, what are you going to do? Both these teams just kind of feel like a rudderless ship at this point. I don't really know what else to say. There's also a stage, or there's also a point too where you're like, all right, is how much worse can all of this get? I Like I said, I just don't know what else to say. It just doesn't look like it's going to get any better. But Aquina, he's bringing in an effort, and I got to give him a lot of credit for that. We'll find out because, look at it this way: in the Utah game, in the Utah game, you knew that Arizona defense was more than good enough to win. I'd say it was good enough to win in the BYU game as well. And not only was it good enough to win in the BYU game, it was also good enough to win in the couple other games this season. I mean, heck, Kansas State. You can say what you want; they were moving the ball. At the end of the day, they only gave up 24 points on offense. I mean, that's really what this all comes down to. So there's that. But either way, I give Dwayne Aquina a lot of credit. Now, when it comes to a prediction on this game, I'm going to go Arizona here. Not only am I going to go Arizona, I am going to back the A, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a nice win for Arizona. I am going to go 31-20. 31-20. If Arizona can win that 31-20, I don't know what else to say other than the fact that I think that we are in we will take it. You can be back to 4-4. You can get your second win in the conference. That's what you're looking for, though. 31-20. That's what I'm hoping for, and I don't know that it is unrealistic to expect that, because here's the deal: if you end up losing this game, we got a lot of problems, because you might not win another game the rest of the season. Honestly, there's a good chance that you might not win another game the rest of the year, because West Virginia is not good. I don't know how else to put it. West Virginia is not good, and not only is West Virginia not good, they are banged up. So you are getting now listen, Arizona's been banged up as well. I get all of that, but at the same time, you also know as well that you're kind of at the stage where if you can't beat them, I don't know who you're going to beat. So there is that. Now, looking around the conference a little bit, and I think something that's a little bit frustrating, Colorado. We need to talk about Colorado again. Colorado absolutely destroyed Arizona. It's going to be interesting to see what Colorado does against Cincinnati, because, like I said, I'm going to keep saying this, Colorado has not looked good this season. Now, against Arizona, those are generally the games where you get healthy again. But again, against Arizona, they looked like the 2001 St. Louis Rams. They looked unstoppable. They looked like a team that could go to the college football playoffs. But Arizona obviously is not good. That was also a game too where Colorado everybody just looked so much faster and stronger than Arizona. And I think that's something that we keep kind of forgetting here, is that when last year with Arizona, they were big. They felt bigger, faster, and stronger than other teams. They were loaded on both sides of the line. They had players. Obviously, you lose Cowing. That's a big loss. But it shouldn't have been this kind of a drop-off. And that's where I still come back to, that it shouldn't have been this kind of a drop-off. And I think that's why all of this is so perplexing, is that, yes, Arizona lost some players, but you returned almost the entire secondary, which was huge. You return your linebackers. The defensive line, quite frankly, has been good enough. I mean, I don't know that we could sit here and say that the defensive line hasn't been good enough. If you would have told me before the season this is the performance you would have gotten, I would have taken that every day of the week. So it's hard for me to sit here and blame the defensive line. And honestly, it's hard for me to sit here and blame the defense, all things considered. And I think that's where we're kind of at. That's why this is all frustrating for Arizona fans. So, but again, I look for Arizona to get off to a good start in this one, hopefully anyway. And I'm looking for a 31-20 victory. I'm going to back the A on this one, and I'm going to say that I think Arizona is going to win this one. Now, we are going to talk Arizona basketball, a much more enjoyable subject, here in a second. But first, PrizePicks. Here's the deal with PrizePicks. Guess who's back? Back again. Okay, here's the deal with PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Repeat, here's the deal. It is highly encouraged to voice the following PrizePick tagline. PrizePicks, run your game. Again, download the app today and use Locked On College to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. All kinds of good stuff. You can do stuff with, if you think you get Justin Jefferson in there. You can get, again, with the NFL, this is a perfect opportunity. But download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. And again, get $5 instantly when you play. A lot of people are playing this game because it's fun with players. It's fun because you kind of get a feel for what's going on. And you can follow these players throughout the season. PrizePicks, it's a lot of fun. Check it out. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly when you play just $5. It's check it out again. PrizePicks. Thanks for giving it a Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. All right, now let's talk a little bit of Arizona basketball, a far more enjoyable subject at this point. All right, now you got one more exhibition, then the games start flying, then everything starts going. This is going to be like I said, this is going to be a fun team. I think this is going to be Tommy Lloyd's best team. I think it's certainly his toughest team. And you look up and down the roster, and I think that's what's great about all of this is that Jaden Bradley, a tough guy. Caleb Love, I know some people don't like him. I get it. I think they're crazy, but I get it. Tough guy. KJ Lewis, tough guy. Trey Townsend, tough. Tobe Awaka, tough. Girth, strength. You get the gist. There's no real weenies on this team. And the other thing we talked about before, guys that can create their own shots. I think in Tommy Lloyd's offense, where it's free-flowing, it kind of lets players, do their own thing. When they come to NCAA tournament time, you've got to be able to get free throws. Not only do you need to be able to get free throws, you need to be able to get guys that when the game slows down. And that is something that I think that's this team is more than equipped to do that. Trey Townsend, obviously at the top of that list. I think Trey Townsend's going to live at the free throw line. I know everybody's been everybody's been talking about the 3-point shot, obviously, but. This is a guy that's going to get a lot of rebounds, going to finish around the hoop. KJ Lewis, obviously, as well. I think a lot of guys that I think are going to get free throws, and that's something you need come March. You need players that are living at the free throw line because the game slows down, and I think that's obviously something that you got to keep an eye on is that the game, obviously, like I said, it does slow down. And so guys that can get to the free throw line, you want that. Okay, now, also, I think you got some depth. And that is a big part of all this. You got depth. That is what is exciting. You know that bringing guys off the bench that don't stink. It seems like every Tommy Lloyd team, there's been one or two guys where you're like, you're just trying to hope to get through the game. But this squad, obviously, you got some better players in there, and I think that's also another exciting aspect to all of this. You know that you got some guys that can really, really play, and I think that is an exciting aspect to all of this. So again, we'll see how this all does play out. But I think this team's very well equipped. And last year's team obviously played very well throughout the out of conference schedule, and then kind of peaked and then kind of slid during the regular season, even though they won the conference. I don't look for that with this year's team. I look for this year's team to basically be strong start to finish and to compete for a 1 seed. I think they've got that kind of potential. But again, you're in the Big 12 at this stage, where this isn't the Pac-12 where you're going against Cal and Stanford. You're going to be going against Kansas. You're going to be going against Iowa State, Baylor, Houston. Heck, even after that, like we talked about, you got your Cincinnatis of the world. You've got your Texas Techs. You've got a lot of just really, really good teams that you're going to be going against, and it is what it is at this stage. You got to be able to win. You got to be able to win those games. I think Arizona's going to be able to do that. I think they're going to be able to win their fair share, but they're also going to drop their fair share. So if Arizona's 13-7 in conference in the Big 12, that is not the end of the world, and I think we got to remember that. It is far from the end of the world, because this is obviously a team that, Tommy Lloyd now is at the stage where you're going to be judged come March. You've had all the regular season success in the world. what is that next step for you? Can you make that move come March? That's going to be what's exciting to see. I think they're going to be able to step up to it, and I think Lloyd has certainly shown that he can do that. So there will obviously always be that. But Arizona basketball, I look for this to be a very fun season for Wildcat fans, and not only do I look for it to be, I look for them to go further than they have gone under Tommy Lloyd. And again, I think that's, you could say, well, Mike, that wouldn't be that hard. I look for an Elite Eight at the least. That is kind of where I am at with all of that. But on that note, though, always very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. And again, I'm going Arizona 31, West Virginia 20. Bear down, back the A, and we will be back with you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Talk to you later.